All right, today we're diving deep into a really chilling Japanese urban legend. It's the story of tragedy and vengeance that's been whispered about for generations. And you know what? It all kicks off with just one single, terrifying question. Now, at first glance, it sounds pretty innocent, right? Maybe even a little flattering. But in this story, how you answer that question, well, it determines whether you live or die. Because this isn't just a question, it's a curse. See, on the dark streets of a city like Tokyo, a city that never sleeps, this ancient spirit isn't just a story. She is very, very real. And she is hunting. Okay, so Section 1, a city under siege. And it's kind of hard to believe, but this whole modern nightmare, it didn't start with a ghost. It started with a simple prank. So at the time, everyone was talking about this slit-mouthed woman legend. So this girl, Akara's roommate, thinks it'd be hilarious to play a prank. Dress up, get a good scare, just a cheap laugh that was about to become a terrifying reality for the entire city. Well, that prank was pretty quickly forgotten when the real nightmare began. On day one, a young woman, Anna, is found dead, her face just horrifically carved. By day two, there were two more victims with the exact same injuries. And by day three, the city was in a full-blown panic. The police, they were completely overwhelmed. They had no weapon, no motive, not a single suspect. And when logic just completely fails like that, what takes over? Superstition. People started whispering an old name, a name that seemed to explain all the terror. They realized it wasn't a person doing this. It couldn't be. It had to be an onyo, a vengeful spirit. All right, Section 2, whispers of a name. So, who is this spirit, and what in the world does she want? Her name is Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman. It's a name straight out of folklore that had suddenly and terrifyingly leaped right off the page and into the dark alleys of Tokyo. So here's how her deadly game works, and it's basically unwinnable. Let's take Anna, the first victim. She gets trapped. Step 1, the spirit asks, "Am I beautiful?" Anna says yes. Okay, step 3. The spirit pulls down her mask, reveals this horribly mutilated face, and asks again. Anna, completely terrified, screams no, and that, according to these rules, was a fatal mistake. Okay, but here's the thing. This monster, she wasn't born this way. She was made. Her story is actually a deeply human tragedy, all about jealousy and rage. Way back, during the age of the samurai, she was a woman whose beauty was, well, legendary. I mean, people would literally stop in the streets just to get a glimpse of her. But that same beauty, it would end up being her curse. You see, her husband, a samurai, became just consumed by this really possessive, toxic jealousy. He absolutely couldn't stand the way other men looked at her. He got it in his head that she was unfaithful, and that paranoia just festered and grew into a violent, uncontrollable rage. And this is the horrifying moment the curse began. In a fit of pure rage, her husband grabbed a pair of scissors and sliced her mouth from ear to ear. She died, of course, but her anguish was so incredibly powerful that it created an onryo. Now, in Japanese folklore, that's a vengeful spirit, one that's so consumed by a powerful emotion, like rage or sorrow, that it gets trapped here, in our world, forced to inflict the same pain that created it. Okay, moving on to Section 4, an unholy confrontation. So, as the bodies are piling up in modern Tokyo, someone had to do something, right? Someone had to fight back, and one man decided he would be the one to face this spirit himself. His name was Hoshuma. He was a priest who truly believed that you can't fight spiritual evil with normal weapons. You need spiritual solutions. So, he armed himself, not with a sword, but with his faith. So he goes into the darkest part of the city, and he actually calls out her name. And when she appears, he starts chanting these sacred mantras. You can just imagine her recoiling, right? And that's when he throws purified salt and a blessed talisman right at her. She lets out this horrifying shriek and then just vanishes into the fog. It looks like he's won. Or so he thought. And for a few days, there was silence. The killings just stopped. The entire city breathed this huge collective sigh of relief. Hoshuma was a hero, the curse was broken, but they were all wrong. It was just the calm before a much, much worse storm.
And that brings us to section 5. The curse evolves because the spirit didn't just come back. Oh no, she adapted. She leveled up for the modern world.
It started with a nightmare. Hoshuma dreamt that she returned, and her voice was just filled with this chilling rage. She promised him a carnival of death, and she warned him that trying to stop her had only made her stronger. And then the killing started again. But this time was different. A girl is looking at her phone, and the screen suddenly goes black, and there's the spirit's face staring back at her. A guy sees her reflection moving in his dark computer monitor. People were being murdered inside their own locked homes. The spirit was using technology now, using reflections to hunt. There was literally nowhere left to hide.
Section 6. Facing the reflection. So Hoshuma knew his first attempt was a total failure. Why? Because he fought her anger, but he completely ignored her pain. He knew he had to try again, but this time he needed a totally different strategy.
Yeah, his first attempt was all about fighting fear with force. But this final stand, this had to be about fighting pain with truth. So he goes back to that exact same dark alley. When she appears and asks that terrible question, he doesn't chant, he doesn't throw salt, he just speaks. He speaks to the woman he knows is still buried under all that rage. He told her, "You are not ugly. His madness took your life, not your beauty." He reframed her entire tragedy for her. He made her see that her beauty was never the enemy. Her husband's insanity was. And he told her the most important thing of all: forgive yourself. And then he did the one thing she could never bring herself to do. He forced her to look at herself. He held up a sacred mirror, and when she saw her own reflection, the face that her husband had created, she let out one final agonizing scream and just dissolved into smoke, gone for good. So the legend says Hoshuma finally gave her peace and the curse was broken. But here's the thing about urban legends. Their nature is to be whispered in the dark, to change, to evolve, and to wait. It makes you wonder, right? If a story is told enough times, does that make it real all over again?